p.m. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next order of business is an invocation. Anyone wish to give an invocation? Thank you. Amen. Okay, Jen, will you call the roll?
Mayor Gotway,
Here.
Alderman Coslow,
Here.
Alderman Johnson,
Here.
Alderman Riley,
Aye.
Alderman
Here.
Stevenson, Alderman Ungerbach,
Here.
Alderman Watley.
Okay, consent agenda, any items, any concern? Motion to
Motion to approve consent.
approve the
agenda.
consent agenda? Favor a second?
Second.
Second, Justin? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. Okay, public comments, Jen?
Laura Gettemeyer. Laura Gettemeyer.
First, I'd like to congratulate you, Laura, on your,
Thanks, I appreciate it.
I was contacted recently by former Darting Prairie Mayor Marilyn Field. Marilyn reached out to me because of the tax incentive issue with regard to Prairie Encore. Marilyn told me, and she said I could share with the residents and board members, her comments that this area is not blighted. Because of that, tax incentives are not warranted. Recall that tax incentives should be an option for developers to lure them into developing blighted areas. I think it's noteworthy that two former Darting Prairie mayors, David Zucker and Marilyn Field, have both spoken out against this proposed development. At the last meeting, we found out that Wentzville School District CFO and two city administrators what financial harm was going to be impacting the school district due to the tax incentives being proposed to be given to the developers. It was a real gut punch when we found that financial harm to Wentzville was calculated to be $9.5 million, a very significant, impactful amount. It was obvious that this multi-million-dollar tax abatement is going to be severely affecting Wentzville School District for years, impacting a significant number of of residents in Darting Prairie. In talking to Whispering Pine resident, whose subdivision is in the Wentzville School District, he surmised that what was going to happen to residents was obvious to him. Wentzville School District would likely be forced to reach out to residents in their school district proposing a tax increase to residents. Is this the way our city should function, giving rich developers tax breaks and forcing our residents to personally make up the difference? St. Charles County Library, who will also experience financial harm due to the proposed tax incentives, though the amount has not been disclosed by the city, posted a letter to their website, which identified a Darting Prairie Board of Aldermen meeting to be held on April 12th, which is yet another not normally scheduled Board of Aldermen meeting. It's being identified as an industrial development, which we're also concerned about. What is industrial about a coffee shop, liquor store, et cetera? It should be noted that as of recently, as of April 12th, Board of Aldermen meeting has not been posted to the Darting Prairie calendar. We're wondering why it's not being posted, because apparently everyone knows about it. Is this just an avenue to push through a vote before the newly elected aldermen take their office? Why are rules being circumvented in order to schedule this Board of Aldermen meeting on an off week prior to newly elected alderman vote being certified? Keith Windeman ran unopposed and I won 70% of the vote, 73% of the vote. Doesn't make sense. And if you're going to circumvent rules about scheduling board meetings, then perhaps rules about getting votes certified could be sped up. Thank you.
David Miller.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your notes, Laura. I appreciate everything you've done for us. I would like to once again talk about transparency in government, something that Laura just touched on, as this does appear to be a recurring theme. There have been several instances of questionable timing, adjustments of code, disregard for the voice of the people. At this time, there are many on the board that have lost the trust of the citizens. Perception is reality. What happened in the last meeting, totally ignoring the needs of the school district, pushing that tax payments deferred from developers to your own citizens, was a disgrace of epic proportions. Next up is the peculiar timing of an extension and possible raise for our city administrator. In reviewing the minutes of board meetings from last year, I don't see the administrator getting an extension. So I'm not thinking that the timing of this has to do with the fact that it happens every year at this time. Just so happens that Mr. Knowles worked very hard in deflecting all possible criticism about Prairie Encore, spinning every negative point into a positive and inferring the citizens are the reasons that developers do not want to build in Dardenne Prairie, when perhaps the real reason could be the issue with the local government. I'm certain that Mayor Gotway, Tom Kamen, and Jim Cook are all very happy with Mr. Knowles' performances. The citizens who really pay his wages may not agree. I'm certain that the Wentzville School District members that are here will comment further on their dealings with Mr. Knowles. A few other questions. Why isn't this vote coming up after the new members of the board take their place? Since the citizens are paying his wage, why don't we know if he's getting a raise? And if he is getting a raise, how much will that raise be? Considering the dire financial status of the city, since we never know when one of our neighboring cities might buy us out, right, Mr. Mayor? That was one of your comments made at a public forum. Perhaps we should show restraint in how we are spending our tax dollars starting tonight. From the city website, there are many jobs assigned to administrator. This is read verbatim. The city administrator is responsible for the daily administration of the city and provides professional leadership in the management and execution of policies and objectives formulated by the Board of Aldermen. The aldermen had not voted on the Prairie Encore development, but the administrator was its biggest cheerleader over the last 6 months. I could see it being the administrator's job to be the cheerleader after the development has been approved. One last comment. Table this vote until there's more information provided to the citizens and the new members are in place. Thank you.
Albert. Dr. Danielle Termala.
Good evening, Mayor Gotway, Board of Aldermen, and City Administrator Knowles. My name is Danielle Tormala, and I'm the Superintendent of Schools for the Wentzville School District. At the March 30th Board of Education meeting for the Wentzville School District, the board unanimously approved a resolution of remonstrance in strong opposition to the proposed industrial development project at 1575 Bryan Road. The district objects to this project for several reasons. First, the project does not meet the definition for a project of industrial development under state statute chapter 100.010. Second, And along the same lines, the district was not provided proper notice of the project, copy of the proposed plan, and an opportunity to submit comments on the plan until March 27th, 2023, which is less than 20 days required under Chapter 100.059. Based on either of these two reasons, the project does not comply with Missouri law and should therefore not be approved at the Board of Aldermen's meeting on April 12th. Third, and most importantly, this project will negatively affect the district's students, staff, and patrons by costing the district approximately $9.5 million in tax revenue over 12 years without the consent of the district. As you're well aware, the district is one of the fastest growing school districts in the state and has been for many years. That growth will continue over the next 12 years, and this project would deprive the district of much needed funds to accommodate additional students and ensure that every student in the district receives the best possible education while at the same time adding students to the district. For the foregoing reasons and others, the attached resolution that I'm going to give to you is being delivered so that you all are aware of the district's opposition prior to voting on April 12th. And the district requests that the Board of Aldermen vote against this project. We will be submitting a more detailed written comment regarding the project prior to that meeting. And we are still waiting for our invitation for a meeting between the city, the district, and the developers as offered by Mr. Knowles. Please be aware, though, that should this project be approved, the district will explore all legal avenues available to oppose this project and ensure that all statutory requirements are met before the project proceeds, if it proceeds at all. We cannot simply allow a project like this to move forward when it is not in conformance with law and will negatively affect the district. Thank you.
Jason Goodson.
A little bit of a tough act to follow. Mayor, aldermen, city officials, I come to you as an individual, but I also come to you as a vice president of the Wentzville School Board. I also am a father of school-age children. I appreciate the opportunity and afforded to me to speak in front of you. I know what it feels like to sit behind a chair like that. I know what it feels like to not have good options at times, balancing what's best for your city, what's best for your residents, your commercial partners in the school district. That being said, hard decisions are what you're put up there for. It's what you were voted for, what you're here to do. I can imagine the idea of this development shores up revenues. Maybe it has, shores up concerns you may have in your projections, in your budget, while also bringing a fresh new development to the area. You have to balance that with our kids, our children. Green Tree Elementary School and Prairie View, just around the corners here, are two of our most crowded elementary schools. Even without this project, as mentioned earlier, our district is set for explosive growth over the next years. And with growth comes expense. That expense may look like a new building. It may look like raises to staff, new staff, bus drivers, field trips, extracurricular activities for our children. How we manage that growth as a leadership team and provide the least impactful scenario for our kids and their parents and our taxpayers is to have the revenue generated from the growth secured. Providing tax savings for a development plan will in turn cause increased expenses to our school in the form of higher enrollment is effectively asking the entire district's taxpayers to make up for those savings you're providing. That assumes, for one, that when I go and ask, or we go and ask for additional funding from the taxpayers, that they'll even agree to it on the ballot. If they don't, your decision and the potential impact to Green Tree and Prairie View will likely mean we'll reach or exceed our capacity, force us to potentially reboundary, reduce expenses, or the overall experience our kids have. For me, the decision is very straightforward. Choose the kids over everything else. Thank you.
Joel King,
Joel King, I'll keep this short and sweet. The residents said no, P and Z said no, school district said no. Did I mention the residents said no? The past few meetings were a display of democracy working against the will of the people. Yesterday's results show that the residents know what to do when this happens. Members of the board and mayor, residents of this city will band together to defeat those who do not truly represent us. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I pronounced this wrong, Angevine,
My name is Richard Angevine. I am CFO of the Wentzville School District. I'm going to talk from a slightly different perspective, and of course, it's going to be the numbers perspective, but a couple things I want to remind you of. The Wentzville School District has your city, O'Fallon, Lake St. Louis, Forestdale, Wentzville. We're very broad. Passing only puts the tax burden on the other cities in the area. We have middle, and high school we provide for you. WSD, Wentzville School District, is the fastest growing school district in the state of Missouri, and we need to build at an alarming rate. Frontier Middle School is the middle school that we have that provides middle school education for your children. We just added a wing that opened up this year at $14.5 million to service you. After we added that school, we found out that it's already full and that we're going to have to add more space at Frontier Middle School. Not only is it so crowded because of partially your city, we also have to come up with another $500,000 to $1 million to pay for a stoplight for that school for the additional children. We have many expenses that we spend for our children here and for your children in this city. We predict that we will need another $200 to $250 million in new square footage in our district over the next 3 to 5 years. You say, oh, we're overbuilding. Let me tell you that we have less square foot per student than we did over 20 years ago. 49% of our total revenues come from property taxes. That's structured a whole lot different than you are. I also want to let you know that I do not agree with the calculations you have for what you said the tax payment is going to be. I'm not saying your numbers are wrong. I'm saying I need to sit down with somebody to show me how you got your numbers because I calculate them differently and I do not come up with your numbers, which is disturbing and another reason that I would like to get with somebody who developed these numbers and find out how you calculated them and if they are accurate. I'd like to end by saying that I believe you need to help fund our schools because what we don't want to do is to raise your tax rates to cover things like this. Thank you.
Linderman,
Good evening. And thank you for the opportunity to speak here. When I started looking at the notes that were sent out by email the other day, I noticed there's a potential to renegotiate a contract for our city administrator. When is this contract up? You're allowed to answer. When is the contract up, Mayor? Okay, why do we have to negotiate now?
It's more formality than anything.
It's not because you're going to have new members on the board in 2 weeks. Sure as heck sounds like you're trying to sneak something else in again against us. It's just obvious. And when I take a look at the size of what I've learned about the contract, $6,000 isn't that? I'm not objecting to that base, but we're throwing a car. I got to drive to work when I go to work. I have to pay my own gas. I've got to pay my own depreciation on the vehicle, et cetera. Granted, I don't have to travel that much anymore, but I still pay my own expenses. The severance package in that contract is bizarre. I've been through layoffs as a manager and as a person being laid off in the industry. It's not uncommon that the typical severance package is either 1 week to 2 weeks per year of service. I look down here and see 6 months worth of severance almost immediately and up to a full year after 2 years of service on here. If you negotiate the contract, you can negotiate it with some common sense. That's the only reason why we need sales tax revenue to pay for the expenses that you guys are going to incur for us. So this is just bizarre. I mean, in abating taxes like we have, you've heard the Westbrook School District people complain about that. It's showing myopic, vision by our mayor. We're looking at a city administrator who looks like he's not really working for us. He's working for what he thinks is the objectives of the city. The residents of the city don't like it. And I just want to keep fighting this as long as I possibly can. Thank you.
Before I begin tonight, I want to congratulate the winners of yesterday's election who earned seats on Darden Prairie's Board of Aldermen. My name is Cheryl Bratton. My husband and I live on Cruden Bay Court in Inverness Subdivision. It's a good thing the Cardinals have an afternoon game in Colorado on April 12th. A 110 first pitch means none of us will have to choose between watching the Redbirds or attending yet another special aldermanic meeting. Certainly, City Ordinance 110.180 states the mayor is within his rights to request his 6 p.m. meeting, but especially because it's one more evening the board members have to set aside for city business, one would assume special meetings are meant to be reserved for emergency purposes. Members of your own P&Z Commission, McKelvey, Fisher, Lombardo, the superintendent of Wentzville School District, hundreds of residents who have signed both paper and online petitions, the scores of residents who turned up at the ICD Mia Rose Open House, the director of the St. Charles County Economic Development Council, disgusted residents from Ward 1 as well as 2 and 3, disgusted residents from surrounding municipalities, the St. Charles County Library District Board, the Wentzville School District Board of Education, including its vice president, residents like me who have spoken at meetings, those who have encouraged and thanked us for doing so, and even the thief who stole 34 of 38 Laura Gittemire's campaign signs in the middle of the night. Nobody's fooled. The scheduling of the special meeting is not an emergency, but instead a cunning exploitation of the city's government and board. Incentives requested by Mia Rose for the Prairie Encore development need to get approved before the board gets reshuffled as a result of yesterday's election. And if the mayor has to manipulate the system as well as his current board to ensure it happens, so be it. Right now, the only thing transparent in Darden Prairie city government is everyone's ability to see right through it. It's called an abuse of power, the act of taking advantage of one's authority in order to control an outcome. The O vowels sounds are pronounced differently, but in baseball, an offensive strategy is a sacrifice fly, while shenanigans like this are simply offensive. Unlike baseball, government isn't a game and has no business being played like one. Right now, the city not only has its own rules book, but literally owns the baseball diamonds. On April 12th, one can only hope the playing field in Coors Park is more even for the Cardinals than it is for anyone else in Darden Prairie.
Ernie Dinoff.
Good evening, members of the Board of Aldermen. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate. And the budget starts January 1st, not in the middle of the year where you want to give the city administrator a huge pay raise. I'm astonished that elected officials are trying to give Mr. Knowles a windfall here. The raise of the city administrator should be discussed in November, December, before the budget goes into effect January 1st. His current salary is $68,000. You want to now pay him $105,900. That is ridiculous. $600 per month for a 457B plan, in addition to the loggers, which is the pension system for municipal and county employees. Again, ridiculous. Because his average of his 3 salaries from when he was mayor of Ferguson, he's not going to be eligible for the rest of his life for $80,000 when he retires at the age of the rule of 80. And 70 miles per day to the city of Ferguson when he pays for his own transportation. Now you want to provide him with a city vehicle? Again, what is that expense to taxpayers? It's all related to the Prairie and the Encore deals in these developments. It's scary playing with the public's money and using children with disabilities and children with needs, political pawns. Currently, the people who are going to suffer are the library district, the county and city library district, the community college district. Of course, we heard from the Wentzville School District, the Community and Children's Resource Board, where you're depriving children of needs, the County Development Disability Resource Board that goes on taxpayer money. You're depriving them of needed services. And St. Charles County Dispatch Fund and road tax levy. You're denying residents those increases. Now, the March 30th, 2023, the Board of Education of Wentzville passed a resolution in opposition and remonstrance. There are some severe and numerous violations of Chapter 100, which you're ramrodding of these issues down the throats of taxpayers countywide. You have violated the notice and the legal requirements of notifying the library district, community resource board, the school district, the county, and the Development Disabilities Board, because you were required to give that information 20 days before the public hearing, and you were in violation. There are and will be a legal challenge in an injunction for relief by these political subdivisions, and as I've talked to numerous of them, along with Alderman Costello. The vote of the aldermen have some guts. Alderwoman Laura Gettemeyer and Alderman Keith Windeman have some guts and say no to this tax abatement. This project makes 0 sense. These people don't deserve a tax cut on the backs of children or the community, and I ask that you vote the tax abatement down to defeat. Thank you.
Next order of business is new business.
Move to rebuild 2309 for the first time. That's how it all moved.
Second. Rebuild 2309. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hear none, move. Casey, you.
Yeah.
Bill 2309, ordinance of the city.
Okay, Casey. Yeah, but he has to be on video. Right. Hey, Case. Casey.
Yeah.
Wait.
I got my camera on.
I'll read. Bill 2309, an ordinance annexing certain adjacent property generally located at 14.6 Spicy Road. City and authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute an annexation agreement with Jason L. Howerton and Molly A. Howerton.
Okay, we just received word that Jason called in. He was interested in annexing his property right off of Pisey Road into the city. And we left him an annexation agreement. He called in and said that he wanted another month to, think about it, go over everything in the agreement. So we'll read it for the first time and we'll postpone it till the May meeting.
First
Okay,
meeting in May.
first.
What's that date?
May 3rd.
We postpone bill 2309 to May 3rd.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to postpone Bill 2309 to May 3rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we'll postpone Bill for the second reading, 2309 till May 3rd. Got a motion to read Bill 2310 for the first time?
So moved.
So moved by Justin, second?
Yep.
By Art, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll read Bill 2310 for the first time.
Bill 2310, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute professional services agreement amendment number 1 with HR Green Inc. for Stump Road Reconstruction and Improvements Project number 971-670.
Okay, any discussion or debate?
I had a quick question about, and I talked to Jason before this, but I think I may have misunderstood something. There are 4 items in here: right-of-way coordination, utility coordination, plan modifications for both typical section and my understanding was that we are adding on the right-of-way coordination, utility coordination, because previously the previous city engineer was going to do that, so that makes sense. You clarify for me again what the plan modifications are, and has that already been done and we're making up for it, or is it?
So they're still doing it. So as part of the utility coordination and the right of way work, there's been one parcel that we decided not to
Move utility.
well, we're not moving any utilities,
Yeah.
any poles. We're moving some of the project around that just slightly. So there is some plan modifications, which is items 3 and 4. Those have not been completed yet. So we've had some parcels. We've changed level of encroachment. One parcel which we've completely taken out of doing any grading on that property, so we were able to rescind any offers or attempts to gain that property. So this is just reflecting of that. So it started off with the conversation when we realized that HR Green never was contracted to do that coordination part. But as part of that coordination and in hopes to save money on any utility movements, we've done some small redesign of mostly the sidewalks. And in fact, I think it's just simply all sidewalks and grading. So as far as what the head wall will be, I haven't seen what the final design is going to be yet. So I couldn't identify. I know you mentioned that earlier, what that looks like. I take that to be, I think Tom may remember, because I know he's had conversations with Dan about this. There might be some retaining wall that's being built now that wasn't before.
We're also, as we had discussed with the residents, we're doing some channel improvements as far as our extension of our existing easements that we have.
Right.
To try to help the erosion that's downstream. We're trying to maximize the scope of the grant that we can to make some of those channel improvements downstream.
Yeah, for someone who's in the audience who will shall be unnamed, but I've committed to him that I'm going to fix his problem.
No. No.
So for clarity, I believe that the confusion here might be the difference between the open forum and the public hearing, which there's no public hearing scheduled.
Right.
There's no public comment session. It's open forum and public hearings.
After the meeting.
After the meeting.
We'll talk to you.
After the meeting, Sure, whatever. We'll file it. Wherever you want it filed.
So I wanna break, because I do have another question again. I want to bring it back because I do have another question. I just wanted to clarify. On these, the two plan modifications, my understanding is that this was informed by feedback from the affected homeowners. And this is to lessen the burden on them and to relieve some of the encroachment from the project.
So some of this is, yeah, with some of the feedback that we've gotten, again, the utility issue, making sure that we're not having to move those poles. And then as Tom said, there's also the issue, which I appreciate you reminded me, the other issue is trying to, again, expand as far as we can the scope of that to help the channel and stormwater improvements that have been raised by residents during this project. Yes,
I really appreciate it. And I'm sure they do too.
they will. It'll be good. It'll be better. We're committed to making sure that it's better than started.
And I will say, publicly, the request that I had, and I don't think John heard me say it earlier today. But I'd love to see what the plans are currently, just whatever is available, just so that we as a board are informed and aware of what the progress is, not necessarily for public distribution, but I'd like to keep track of what that looks like along the way.
Well, we've done a couple field trips, and if you'd like, especially now that the weather's getting a little bit better, maybe we can take a walk again with our engineer, because not only we get to see it on paper, but maybe physically see it in place. So that's helped a lot with the residents that we've been able to.
Good.
I missed the last one, but
All right,
if possible.
we'll try to work that out.
Any other questions? Okay, you have a motion to read Bill 2310 for a second time
So
by
moved.
title only.
Second.
Justin first, Mike second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll read Bill 2310 by title only for a second time.
Bill 2310, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute professional services agreement amendment number 1, with HR Green Inc. for Stump Road reconstruction and improvements project number 971-670.
More discussion? A motion for a roll call vote?
Roll call vote. Second.
First, Mark second. Okay, Kim, or Jen, would you call the roll?
Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Conley,
Aye.
Alderman Costello.
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Sansom.
Aye.
2239.
Okay, declare Bill 2310 as ordinance 2239.
Move to read Bill 2311 for the first time.
A motion to read Bill 2311 for the first time.
Second.
Second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. James, would you read Bill 2311 for the first time? That long.
Bill 2311, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute various easements and other documents in connection with the Stump Road reconstruction and improvements project.
Any discussion or debate? Hear none. Motion to read Bill 2311 for a second time. By title only.
Second.
Justin first, Mike second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll read Bill 2311 for the second time by title only.
Bill 2311, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute various easements and other documents in connection with the Stump Road reconstruction and improvements project.
Discussion or debate? For a roll call vote? Got a motion for a roll call vote?
Second.
Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Jen? I'll read Bill, or would you call the roll?
Alderman Costello.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach.
Aye.
Alderman Wanley.
Aye.
Alderman Sansom. Alderman Riley.
Aye.
2240.
Okay, I declare Bill 2311 as ordinance 2240. A motion to
2312 for the first time.
got a motion by Justin to read Bill 2312 12 for the first time by title only. Second?
Like,
Mike, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. James, will you read Bill 2312 for the first time by title only?
Bill 2312, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to submit a fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2026 transportation improvement program application with the St. Charles County Road Board for financing of improvements, post road phase 1.
Any discussion or debate?
read a second time.
Got a motion to read Bill 2312 for a second time?
Second.
I got a second by Justin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. James, will you read Bill 2312 for the second time?
Bill 2312, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to submit a fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2026 transportation improvement program application to the St. Charles County Road Board for financing of improvements to post road phase 1.
Move for a roll call vote.
Got a motion for a roll call vote? Mike?
Second.
Second by Dave? Second, Dave? Or,
Second.
oh, okay.
Just pick one, you second. You got three options. And then she can.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? James, will you read Bill 2312 for a second time? By title?
Yeah.
Oh.
Move for a roll
Oh.
call. We already did twice.
Yeah.
Got a motion for a roll call vote?
Aye. Second.
Second? All in favor?
Roll vote.
Yep.
Yeah.
we did that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? Jen, will you call the roll?
Alderman Sanso.
Aye.
Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Kosler.
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach.
Aye.
Alderman Wandling.
Aye.
2241.
Hey, I declare Bill 2312 as ordinance 2241.
Move to read Bill 2313 for the first time.
Justin, got a motion to read Bill
Second.
2313. Mike seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. James, will you read Bill 2313 first time by title only?
Bill 2313, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to submit a fiscal year 2024, 2026 transportation improvement program application with the St. Charles County Road Board for financing of improvements to Hanley Road phase 2.
Discussion or debate?
Move to read.
Go ahead.
Justin?
Do it.
Justin moved. I second.
All right, second time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. James, will you read Bill 2313 second time by title only?
Bill 2313, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to submit a fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2026 transportation improvement program application, St. Charles County Road Board for financing of improvements to Hanley Road phase 2.
Move for a roll call vote.
Got a motion for a roll call vote?
Second.
Mike? Justin seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. Jen, will you call the roll?
Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Alderman Wandling.
Aye.
Alderman Koslow.
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Sanso.
Aye.
22
Declare Bill
2242. Sorry.
2242. Declare Bill 2313 is ordinance 2242. Okay, got a motion to read Bill 2314 for the first time?
So moved.
Second.
Move. Second. James, will you read Bill 2314 for the first time by title
Sure.
only?
Bill 2314, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute an amended and restated employment agreement by and between the city and James W. Knowles III.
Okay, any discussion or debate?
Mr. Mayor, I did
Okay,
have-
I just,
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I would like to clarify a few things that, obviously, there were things that were read, but not fully read in the agreement that, been mentioned, and so I wanted to make sure that in full disclosure and clarity for everyone that, you understand what's being done here. So, number one, I already got my raise January 1st because that's part of the budget process, so that has been done. It is restated in my contract here what my salary is, but that's, so it's already been done. I mean, we do that every year as part of the budget process, just like every other city employee does. I do operate as a contract. It's perpetual, so nobody, the only way I can be terminated, which is by statute, by ordinance, is by supermajority of this board and the mayor. So not about extending a contract or anything like that. This is a standard reamendment or amendment of a contract. The car very clearly states it's not to be used for personal use nor commuting. The contract that was said at the podium, but clearly not read, or at least was conveniently left out. So no, I cannot take it home. I bought a hybrid SUV, which I drive 70 miles round trip a day. Yes, that's true. I also don't drive the Beast, which is the vehicle which would be afforded to me. I drive my own car, and I don't even turn in mileages for it. So, but every city employee is afforded the use of city vehicles for city employment use, just like every person who works here. So I don't understand the attempt to make an issue or to cut down over something that is just afforded to every city employee, and in most places afforded to any employee anywhere. I don't make 60,000, Arnie, and never have. Thanks. It says nothing to do with pension in Ferguson. I don't get one. I didn't make $60,000 in the 20 years I was in service there. So cumulatively. So that's just silly. This is just a simple restatement of my contract. Plus, I do, because I don't participate in the health insurance here, I do get a 457 plan contribution in lieu of participating in a very good health plan here, but I have a very good health plan through my wife's work at BJC. So I negotiated a different package as opposed to healthcare package. So that, just along with everybody else, that needed to be through or up to rather this upcoming year, because that is something that I negotiated separately in lieu of my healthcare. So, you know, I'm always happy to talk to anybody about it. Regardless of what's said, I'm always still happy to talk to anybody if you ever want to call. Very forthcoming about whatever. I am a public employee, and so my pay is public, my performance is public. Whatever you ever want to contact me about or discuss with me, I'm always happy to do so. So certainly not out of line, I don't think, with any other community, and I wouldn't ask it to be. So, try to be, I just asked to be dealt with just like any other employee here. So, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the board, not from the residents, but after the meeting, I'd be happy to talk to you, because this isn't an appropriate thing. No, I'm addressing the board and the issue. So, but I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting.
Okay, the reason it's coming up, it's my fault as mayor, after he's the only employee that has a negotiated contract like this. Okay, it should have been put on the agenda in January, right after it was. There was so many things happening in this city. I neglected, it was an oversight on my part. And when it was brought to my attention that it wasn't ever brought up as an ordinance, I said, well, throw it on there. Let's do it this week. So there's no, you know.
And I.
It was not a pay.
I want to make it
Just, ma'am, you're out of order. Please sit down.
Arnie, you're out of order too.
Arnie,
Yeah.
just to be clear, it was a 6% raise,
And
which was what was authorized by the board for employees.
Yep.
and I want to reaffirm the things that were said. When this came across in the packet, I scrutinized, I took his previous employment contract, current employment contract, put them together, looked at any of the differences in there. And mainly because it's my life's goal to make his life hell. But I did scrutinize very closely, and the differences are the pay raise that was afforded the year, which, as most of us, didn't even match inflation. So I don't think there's anything nefarious here. Now, if the terms of that contract are not to the liking of any residents, unfortunately, this isn't the negotiation of that contract. This is an amendment to an already negotiated contract. So we were going to negotiate, we would just go back to him and say, hey, we want you to have to drive your own personal car. We want you to take away all those different things. And he would just say, no, we'll just leave the contract as is. And I don't think that's because we do need to fix the pay rate on there. So I will throw my weight behind this. Is very appropriate to bring his existing employment contract up to his current pay rate. None of the other terms are being.
Okay, can I have a motion to rebuild?
I want to say, I want to give James a vote of confidence. I know that people out there are not real happy with James. We're talking about one very single item, Prairie Encore. I understand that. James has done a great job for our city and he works for the mayor and he does what the mayor needs him to do. I am 100% on board with this. Every board member up here negotiated and was aware of what this contract is. And it was done by the board, not by the mayor, and there's nothing underhanded being done. It's a pure formality to okay it to have an ordinance that took place actually back in January. Actually, the raise was given in December, effective in January. Thank you, James.
I will say I would not be as effective on this board if I didn't have James to help me with a lot of the stuff that may or may not necessarily be within his job title. He goes above and beyond for. So I very much appreciate James.
Amen. I don't always agree with him.
You're not supposed to always.
And that's certainly, I actually had
That's
a
why we
resident,
have a board.
yep, I had a resident call me the other day and they said, you know, they'd seen some things on social media and asked me my opinion of James. And I would be exactly, and the rest for exactly what I told that resident, which is that James has always been professional. He always does his job as, you know, James reports to the mayor and tangentially to us. He always provide us, me on any project that I've seen, at least that I've asked for, all the pros and cons. If we ask his opinion, he's more than happy to share it with us, and we don't necessarily always agree. And since I am also privy to behind the scenes conversations, I know that he also doesn't agree with some of the things that we say and will tell us as much privately, but won't do it in public. This is exactly what a good city administrator. I have no doubt in my confidence that no matter who the mayor is and what they believe, he will work and work very hard for that individual representing them and doing his job, and we're lucky to have him.
Any more discussion?
Read a second.
Move for second reading.
Got a motion for a second reading?
Second.
Mike seconds, all in favor?
I
Any opposed? Hear none? James, will you read Bill 2314 for our second time? Yeah.
Bill 2314, an ordinance of the city of Darden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute an amended and restated employment agreement by and between the city and James W. Knowles III.
For a roll call vote. Got a motion for a roll call vote? Okay, Dave seconds. Jim, we call the roll?
Alderman Coslow,
Aye.
Alderman Johnson,
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach,
Aye.
Alderman Wanling,
Aye.
Alderman Sansone,
Aye.
Alderman Riley.
Aye.
2243.
I declare Bill 2314 as ordinance 2243. Okay, next item is staff communications. City attorney.
have nothing, Mayor.
Brad, got something to say? No. City engineer?
Yes, sir. So you have my written report, but I just wanted to highlight a couple things. Thank you for endorsing the road board grant applications. That's basically a mirror of the East-West Gateway grants that were submitted. But we will be doing a presentation before the road board. I believe it's May 17th. Again, Post Road has been split, so we are doing it in phases as a reminder to the board. We're obviously hopeful that the reduction of the scope and the cost will help us at least get started with phase one. Phase two of Hanley Road is a kind of the construction arm of the milling and overlaying of Hanley Road, which we will also present on the road board. And batting cages look good.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody said. I think we might have, with all the people that contributed, might have the best batting cages in
St. Charles County.
Metro.
By contributions, it didn't cost the city hardly anything.
Oh, I'll have to see him.
Yeah, let me,
I didn't hear they were done. Okay.
he just got done last yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yes, well, they got a few more things, right?
Yeah.
Little tweak things, but,
Nice.
okay,
Thank you.
city
Mayor.
administrator, James.
I do just want to I do thank the board for vote of confidence, and I do hope that residents, I do know, because I've heard from many, that they do appreciate my attempts at least to reach out and quite frankly, and certainly regardless of what is said, and I do see all the things on social media. I mean, I'm here obviously working directly for the mayor, tangentially to the board, but ultimately to serve the residents. And so I take great pride in that, and I hope that the residents will utilize that and reach out to me whenever they need anything. I do hear all the people who say that I'm a cheerleader for this project, though I think any member of this board who voted for the project will tell you I was against it, and every person who voted against it will tell you I was for it. And I think that's because I'm doing my job. Ultimately, they get to make the decision, but it's my job and duty to provide information, to scrutinize, to provide whatever assistance, but ultimately it's the board's decision. And when the board does make a decision, it's my job to carry that out on their behalf and in your benefit. And I know even if you don't like it, say don't kill the messenger, but it is still my job to carry out the wishes of the board in its entirety and hopefully serve you best my ability. So again, I want to thank the board for that vote of confidence, and I do want to encourage residents. I sincerely do this job, not for the pay, but I do this job because this is something that I have a passion for local government service. So like I said, take advantage of it because it's a job I do, not just as a job, but I do it really has been my career. It's been my passion, and I do really enjoy the 18 months I've been here in Garden Prairie and look to be here for many more in your service. That's all.
Hey, Alderman.
I do want to say one thing just publicly. I really encourage, there's a lot of things that are said in these meetings to the board that, especially when numbers get involved, numbers seem to be the thing that misrepresented the most. I encourage everybody to keep open communication with their alderman. It serves two things. It keeps you informed and it keeps us our head in the right place. We can't answer your questions if we aren't informed, and we need to do that research to make good decisions. We need to be well informed when we get up here. So your questions and your challenges to us ensure that we know our stuff and that we're thinking about it from all different angles. It's really hard to provide that information sitting here from the dais. This really isn't the place to gain that understanding. And we're committed to making sure that we're available. So all the Ward 2 residents, please reach out. If you're in Ward 1 or Ward 3, reach out to your alderman and ask those questions, make those challenges ahead of time and say, hey, where's the data? I am happy to give it. I am happy to listen. And if there's something that I overlooked, I'm happy to be challenged. But start early, and every Friday the packet is put out. Take a look at that and see if there's anything that you're interested in, and reach out and ask us any questions. I'm done.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just a
Go ahead,
couple,
Dave.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
just a couple comments, questions, and I don't expect answers. We're having a special meeting on 4/12 on Wednesday. I found out about that through an email with the team's information to call in. I have not had one, I have no idea what that meeting's for officially, because nobody has told me what it's for. Okay? Is any other alderman, would you officially hear what the meeting's for? Who told you? I'm sorry?
I didn't hear anything about it. I mean, I knew that there was, I knew there was a special meeting on the 12th.
But you don't know what it's about, do you? No. How are we supposed to know if you didn't tell us?
Hold on. The first meeting that we had, that was a special meeting, We didn't talk about 12 also. You were actually on video when we had that meeting, okay? And we talked about it and
Said there'd be a special meeting. We
uh,
didn't say when. We said there'd be a special meeting. Is that the meeting that,
on the 12th.
well,
Mark,
we didn't
did you
say a
get
date. We
you
didn't
get-
have a date.
information? I mean, did you get what the meeting's about? Yeah,
We discussed what the, closed session.
yeah. You didn't know what the
I
12th
don't
is for?
remember, I do not remember in our last special meeting. That's about the 12th. But I'd love to correct the record if we can lay that out here.
And I don't
Okay.
know all I can say.
Well,
We'll close.
well, the meeting where we
But if
voted
we
on
can-
the,
If we can clarify now what the 12th is for, that would be helpful.
it's going to be the vote on the incentive package. There'll be two ordinances. Okay, one for the chapter 100 and one for the ED and CID. Okay. So we've discussed this at length, this incentive package. Okay. Have we not?
It was approved in an MOU
It was-
at the last meeting, so it's not, I mean, it's public information
Yes,
on what the package is
right.
at this point. So
And so that incentive package, we had a timeline of after it was approved because it was an oversight on the regular March meeting. Okay, it was an oversight that didn't have the MOU on that meeting is why we had the special meeting. Okay, to approve the MOU, which then started the clock to get our notices out to the taxing district, okay? Which we did. Sent it out right after that meeting. So that special meeting, this is the board that had followed this project all the way through. Okay? And this board, to my understanding, agreed that you wanted to vote on this.
I certainly think that if the new aldermen who were just elected, they went to vote on it, I think that by virtue of them being elected in, that in the lame duck period, we should honor that.
Should honor what? That
Their desire to weigh in and to vote, since this is a lame duck period, that is. If they said, I don't want anything to do with this, you guys.
listen, of course, you two would feel that way, and of course, they would feel that way. But to the mayor's point, this board has had 1 year of education on this. The new aldermen have had none.
I'm
So what are
gonna
we
disagree
to
with,
do?
I'm gonna disagree with that. We can't talk about it because all the discussion about any incentives or anything like that would be in a closed session. It would be in an open session. But I'm going to disagree that we've had any kind of agreement or anything for a year.
Education on it. I mean, when was the first time you heard about this project?
I don't think that we can talk about that in a.
I mean, I think, you can, it's been at least a year. We can talk about when we first talked about it, it's been over a year.
Okay.
It's our prerogative. But since all. The project is well
proposal of
known
this
by
project,
now.
the first proposal of this project, we all totally disagreed with it. We said, there's no way we will go with this because it was,
Yeah, I will say from my own understanding, up until a month ago, the comment that I was working off of was that we would address the question of economic incentives after the question of appropriateness for the site was resolved. And so that was where, when we say that we've had a year of education on it, I was surprised to hear the MOU being missed in March as a oversight, because I thought that was intentional.
It was intentional. And we all thought it was on the agenda.
It was
Okay.
supposed to be on the agenda. I went through the packet and I was the one that caught it wasn't there and I called James. And I
I'm
said,
talking about from my perception, what I was working off.
my position on it was that I wasn't willing to vote on the development without the incentives at the same time, because that was the only way that I could have my arms around the totality of the circumstances. I said they needed to come through together. I'm not gonna approve a development not knowing what the incentive ask is.
I hear that. I'm speaking only for myself and my perceptions and my understandings at the time. So yours is definitely different than mine, and I respect that, but I'm just speaking about mine.
Certainly. I certainly remember the first discussions about this and even public discussions about it. Several of us held that position, which is, we're not willing to move this forward and without knowing what the incentives are, and we felt that they should be 100% done. Both for, both for the city's benefit and the developer's benefit. A lot to run. For the developer.
It was formally presented to P and Z in December. They voted it down. The developers were on the agenda for December and they withdrew it. Now we're rushing through to get this done. Well, this board is still, even in lame duck session, to vote on it. They had time to bring that forward before the special meetings being called.
And you don't remember they putting it on hold for almost 4 months because we had,
4 months.
it was multiple months.
Before December? It was before December.
Yeah.
So they were ready in December. So they've waited. This is the 4th month. This is 4 months. Next question. Are residents allowed to enter under Teams, which is Zoom? Alderman Riley is on what's called Teams, calling in. Are residents able to do that?
We can make accommodations for residents either through Zoom or Teams. We'll use WebEx. We have all three, so some are better for larger groups. I just want to weigh in, so we'll make sure that that's set up.
Were the developers allowed to do that on the last special meeting? Or the last meeting?
Were they online?
Yeah.
Participate? We posted out there.
Post the link to Teams.
Posted it.
It has been, yeah, we have posted it in the past. It's it's the same link every time. It's just the standard meeting date. So, but yeah, we, one of the developers, they didn't end up speaking. They were supposed to present. They logged in, but they didn't weigh in. So. But if we're going to have, if we're going to have a lot of people, if you might, I think the one that we did, the last one that we did where we did totally virtual, we did it as a, I think I did it as a Zoom meeting. It works out better that way for larger groups. So, but yeah, one way or the other we can do that. That's what the board would like to accommodate.
Next time be totally virtual, or will there be somebody, some group of you?
Well, it's up to you. It's your purview. I mean, at this point, I think we plan on having it in person. Now we are running up against the planning and zoning meeting. Well, so we do have a very light planning and zoning agenda. There's just a lot split, rezoning.
So I had some questions asked. Is this before planning and zoning? After what was the?
Before planning and zoning. Yeah.
So that's why it's at 6.
Gotcha.
Lastly, I'd like to congratulate Laura on running a wonderful campaign. Looking forward to you being on the board. Anybody else? Hey, like to say that, Tuesday, last week, John Ognar asked to have a meeting. He had a lot of questions, just one-on-one, him and I, and well, James, you were there. Yeah. And, I don't see him here tonight. Questions had to do with the budget. Went over that. And his last comments were, so you're running the city like a business. I don't know any other way how to run a city like other than a business as far as keeping the books balanced and operating in the black. Kim was there and showed him the complete budget as far as what we spent on fixing streets. You guys don't have a clue on new streets, but in 25 years, I've looked at your streets and they're in bad shape, but that has nothing to do with time. It has to do with bad pours of concrete. So when the city takes over streets, again, like I pointed out at earlier meetings, the amount of tax from the real estate tax that the city gets will not replace one slab of concrete in your front yard in 25 years at today's rate. Okay? So any one of you that want to go for a tour of Garden Prairie and show and see what kind of, what $10 million bought us in 2 years as far as street repairs, I'll take you on that tour personally. I'll rent a bus to take you on a tour to show you the condition of streets, the way they were 2 years ago. So we keep building houses, we keep building subdivisions. Without new retail, we will not be able to stay in business. Okay? That's just a fact. So when I ran to fix our streets because they were neglected for 8 years. There were slabs down to gravel in front of people's houses. By the end of this year, every single bad slab in Garden Prairie will be replaced in every subdivision. So the big question is these new subdivisions that are coming on, which the city has not they're not dedicated to the city yet. So in your subdivision, are you willing to take them on yourself? An HOA, there's subdivisions that do that. Your HOA will plow your streets in the summer, will maintain them, whatever, and the cost for that will be shared by the homeowners. Do you have any idea what that cost would be?
Not the streets.
No, you did not. You do not.
Yeah, that.
Not for your
that pays for
streets.
Lawn care and
That's
sprinkler and irrigation.
Not for your streets. But anyway.
Yeah, I understand that from Shelby. Resident before you accept it.
I think to his point, the reality is that even if it's 100% fantastic cement, the slabs will need to be replaced in 10 to 15 years. It's just the reality of concrete and it costs a lot of money. And to my point at the last meeting is that in order to pay for the services to residents, the largest expenditure being street repairs, there has to be revenue. We've increased the number of residential streets in our city exponentially, well above the rate of commercial and sales tax generating real estate. So we can't continue to pass up those opportunities to shore up funding to provide services to residents. So that's where we as the board members have to make those difficult decisions. I mean,
Why are you giving tax abatements?
Right.
It's totally full.
Okay, so I'm finished.
We're not against commercials. We're not against commercials.
They said you have a barbecue. Just listen.
I got a motion to adjourn. This is not, if you wanna meet, got a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Anybody that wants to have a one-on-one discussion about the state of the city and and everything that's going on, like I had with John, please call me. I will sit down one-on-one with you. Okay?
Okay.